Burn Evolved 2.0 claims to, quote, activate your TRPV1 receptors to help skyrocket your metabolic rate. They say it's a, quote, secret control switch embedded in your fat cells, and by activating it, it will force your fat cells to start burning. Now, this already sounds ridiculous, but what are TRPV1 receptors and what do they actually do? TRPV1 receptors are like little detectors in your body. They help you sense heat and spice, especially on your mouth and on your skin and in certain organs. When you eat something like a spicy chili pepper or when hot water touches your skin, these TRPV1 receptors send signals to your brain. Your brain then interprets these signals as heat or spiciness. So TRPV1 receptors are your body's heat and spice detectors. They make sure you can feel and respond to hot temperatures or spicy foods to keep you safe and help you react accordingly. They aren't some secret switch to increase fat burning. But you might be wondering why some people seem to believe that eating cayenne extracts and activating these TRPV1 receptors can somehow burn more fat. This myth arises from a few studies on cells and mice. These studies suggested that activating TRPV1 receptors might lead to small cellular changes that could help with obesity. These cellular changes included a few things like reducing fat production and increasing brown adipose tissue activation. While these cellular changes do seem interesting, the problem is that every single one of these studies are done in cells in a petri dish or in mice, not in actual humans. There's no evidence to show that activating TRPV1 receptors in humans can do any of these things. And even if it could, there's certainly no evidence to suggest that taking cayenne extracts orally could even activate the TRPV1 receptors in your fat cells to do those things in the first place. In fact, studies in humans show that taking cayenne extracts are not likely to have much effect on weight at all. Other studies show that taking capsaicin is also not likely to have much effect on fat loss or energy burning. So we don't really have any evidence that turning on TRPV1 receptors does anything meaningful for our metabolism or burning fat in humans. However, people may seem inclined to believe this myth because of a few weak studies in mice. Also, eating cayenne extracts might give a burning sensation in the mouth, which some people might think means it's burning fat elsewhere in the body. Sadly, that's not the case, and clinical studies have shown that taking cayenne extracts do not significantly affect body weight or fat in humans. With that in mind, let's talk about the supplement itself. Here are the doses per capsule. The recommended dosing is 2 per day. We're going to analyze each ingredient to see whether they contain a sufficient dose, whether it contains the active compounds to work, and how effective they might be for weight loss. Then at the very end, I'll look into cheaper alternatives and give this supplement an overall rating. Chromium is a mineral our body needs to help with glucose metabolism. I've explained this more in depth before, but taking extra chromium only really helps if you're lacking it, which is super uncommon in North America. Or if you have diabetes or PCOS, in which case it might give you a bit of a boost in dealing with those conditions. But when it comes to losing weight or shedding fat, the benefits are pretty small, as studies show only slight weight loss in these groups. So chromium has been studied in numerous clinical trials. However, those trials show that if you are already in good health, adding chromium won't do much for your weight or your body composition. Gymnema has been studied for its possible role in assisting people with metabolic diseases in managing their blood sugar levels, but the research is pretty weak. Also, there isn't any good evidence to suggest it offers benefits to individuals who don't have metabolic diseases. It's worth noting that the studies typically utilize a daily dose of 600 milligrams. Burn Evolve 2 only provides 300 milligrams. Alpinia ganglia is a plant related to ginger, but doesn't really taste like ginger. It's used in traditional medicine for things like colds and sore throats when you chew it. However, there's no evidence that it can assist with losing fat or weight. Coleus forskohlii is a member of the mint family. It contains forskolin, which is believed to be the active constituent in Coleus forskohlii. Now, forskolin has been looked at into obesity in 2 small studies. Proponents use these studies to say that Coleus forskohlii can help people lose weight, since the study authors suggested it might be good for weight loss. But if you actually look at the results of these trials, they show that Coleus forskohlii was no more effective than a placebo for weight loss. One of these studies is even kind of tricky. In this study, the group taking Coleus forskohlii actually started off a bit lighter than the placebo group. So if you just look at the final weight, it seems like the Coleus forskohlii group lost more weight. But when you calculate the weight that was actually lost, there's no real difference between Coleus forskohlii and the placebo. So the idea that Coleus forskohlii can help you lose weight is just not true. The myth likely came from these studies. I mean, yes, they looked at it for obesity, but it turns out it was not any better than a placebo for losing weight. Nevertheless, the studies used 500 milligrams of a standardized 10% forskolin extract daily. Burn-Evolve 2.0 provides only 150 milligrams of a non-standardized extract daily. Caffeine, whether it's from so-called natural extracts or even pure caffeine in the anhydrous form, can really only help with weight loss if it amps up your physical activity. I've covered this in another video before that you can find below in the description. Burn-Evolve 2 gives you about 130 milligrams of caffeine each day, which is the equivalent of 1.5 cups of coffee. Caffeine is by far the closest ingredient in Burn-Evolve 2 that has anything to do with burning fat or losing weight. L-theanine is an amino acid that could be useful for improving brain power and staying focused when you're stressed, especially if you combine it with caffeine. You'll find it in a lot of workout supplements. While it won't help you lose weight or get stronger, it might help you concentrate better during your workouts. Normally, you'd take about 200 milligrams or more of L-theanine, so Burn-Evolve 2 falls a bit short here. Cayenne extract is a spice which can activate TRPV1 receptors. Evodiamine is an extract of Evodia plants and is believed to work in a similar way to cayenne extract. Burn-Evolve 2 is really pushing the idea that activating these receptors can burn fat. But as I've explained earlier, the proof for this is mainly from studies on cells and mice. When it comes to humans, the studies don't show any actual major fat or weight loss. Grains of Paradise is another supplement that proponents claim can help you burn fat and lose weight. This belief mostly comes from one small study that seemed to find benefits for shedding fat. The study dug into how it affects your overall energy use and the fat around your organs. But the study only had a tiny group of 19 people, so you should take the results with a pinch of skepticism. Now, in the study, the people who took the extract did have less fat around their organs compared to those who took a placebo. But there weren't any big differences in subcutaneous fat, body fat percentage, or total weight loss. Actually, oddly enough, the placebo group seemed to lose more weight overall, although this wasn't a super strong finding. And to make things worse, other research backs up the fact that Grains of Paradise likely won't affect your weight or fat loss. So despite the belief that Grains of Paradise can theoretically activate brown adipose tissue or increase energy expenditure, research shows that taking it is not realistically going to help with any significant fat or weight loss. In terms of side effects, the ingredient most likely to cause any problems is the caffeine content. 1.5 cups of coffee isn't too much, but if you're sensitive to coffee or are pregnant, you may need to be careful. Burn-Evolve 2.0 doesn't offer much beyond caffeine and chromium. They're throwing in various other ingredients that they think are linked to fat burning, like cayenne extracts or Grains of Paradise. But here's the thing, these ideas aren't backed by strong proof. The studies that seem to support these claims are really just theoretical and don't actually prove that these ingredients work well in people. And the studies that do involve humans don't show much better results than a placebo. This just goes to show that having a study or a research paper on a topic, even if the author seems to suggest it's helpful, doesn't automatically make it true. You've got to look at the results yourself. Currently, Burn-Evolve 2 is being sold for approximately $50 per month. If you're looking to achieve effects similar to, or perhaps even better than those of Burn-Evolve 2, you could combine caffeine, chromium, and Gymnema. A generic caffeine supplement is $1 to $2 per month. Chromium is $3 to $4 a month. And Gymnema extract is $1 to $2 per month. This combination is only $5 to $8 per month and is likely good enough to replicate Burn-Evolve 2.0. If you really wanted to add the cayenne extract or Coleus forskohlii, even though research has shown that they are not very helpful at all, you can add a better quality cayenne extract and Coleus forskohlii for around $3 to $4 a month each. This means you can essentially replicate what Burn-Evolve 2.0 is trying to do, but even better for around $11 to $16 per month. Rating Burn-Evolve 2.0 by effectiveness for weight loss, I'm giving it a C. It makes an incorrect claim about TRPV1 receptors and fat loss, and is functionally nothing more than a caffeine supplement with some chromium. Rating it by cost, I'm giving it a D. You can replicate what Burn Evolve 2.0 is trying to provide you for many times less. Rating it for safety, I'm giving it a C. Caffeine can cause some people who are sensitive to it unwanted side effects. Overall rating, I'm giving it a D. I wouldn't recommend it at all. Hi, I'm Dr. Brian Young. Do you think it's worth it? Let me know in the comments down below. And if you found this video helpful, please subscribe to the channel and leave me a like. Hit the notification bell if you want to stay up to date, and share this video with someone you know who can use the info.